Hi, my name is Kent C. Dodds, and I'm an educator teaching topics around React, testing, and the web. After rebuilding my personal website with Remix, I got so excited about what it enabled me to do, and I'm thrilled to be able to share that with you. In this course, we're going to cover conventional nested routing, data loading, dynamic routes, mutations, progressive enhancement, error handling, environment variables, and protecting routes. I hope you enjoy the course and build amazing things with Remix. Our objective here is we just want to show a list of the posts that we have. We're going to use an actual API from Remix, and it's a convention, and that is to export a function called loader. And it's actually typically an async function. Very rarely will this not be an async function. So we'll just stick an async on there. And then I'm going to, actually, you know what I want to do? I'm going to make an async function called getPosts. And that is going to get me all of this. There we go. So now I have my posts, get posts, and I'm going to return a response. So the loader accepts a couple of things we'll talk about later and returns a response. So we return a new response, and we're going to return a JSON response so that our client can get that JSON response. So I'm going to say JSON stringify posts. And then I'll add a header with content type application JSON. Cool. So I'm sending that response back. And then in my posts, I'm going to get, or in my post component, I'm going to get my posts from use loader, loader data. And now I've got my post there. Cool. We refresh, boom, there it is. OK, so let's look at the code really quick, because I went through that pretty quick. We're going to make some modifications to this as well. So the loader is responsible for loading data, and it runs on the server and only the server. OK? And so you have access to a database, you have access to private keys that you don't want shared in the wide world. You can read the file system if you're not running in a serverless environment or whatever, where that would make sense. Whatever you want to, your only responsibility is to return a response. And the vast majority of the time, that response should be an application JSON response. So this looks like a fair bit of boilerplate. If that's like what I do in almost every one of my loaders, it would be really nice if we had like a little helper function to help us with that. And so we do. JSON. And yeah, none of these is correct. It should come from Remix run node. So we'll import JSON from Remix run node. There we go. Cool. And then we say JSON posts. And that effectively does the same thing. But I want to call out something special here, something special about Remix. Remix is not just another framework. Okay? It is a framework that exposes the web platform to you. So where a lot of libraries that I've written and frameworks that have been written take the web platform APIs and wrap them in what they think is a nicer, cleaner API, Remix instead exposes the web platform API. And in fact, we're running an Express server under the hood right here, but you can also, again, run on Dino, or you can run on Cloudflare Workers, or wherever you can. I always mix up Fastify and Fastly. One of them's a CDN, the other's a web framework or a node framework. But wherever you're running, and they all have their different API, like Netlify functions, Vercel functions. They all have different APIs for request response. What Remix does is it actually acts like a jQuery for the platform, and it turns all of those request responses into a web fetch request response. And so if you dive into this response, then you see this is the fetch API. We make the fetch API global, and actually Node 18, I believe, it has fetch built in, but I believe it also makes these global. And so wherever you are, we make the response global so that you can work directly with request response regardless of where you're deploying to. I think this is a really powerful piece of what makes Remix special. So because we do this a lot, we have a little utility for that, because that would just be like super annoying to have to do this over and over again. But one thing that I want to call out here is that this is a relative route. So if you've been using React Router for a while, until version 6, when nested routing became a thing, you had to construct these. And so you'd have to say /post/admin. And that was kind of annoying. So yeah, now the link is intelligent and knows where it is in the route hierarchy. And so it will automatically nest. Now, of course, we can, if we wanted to go to /admin, then you can do the full route if you want. But we're just going to do that as a subroute. Cool. So now let's make that subroute. We'll make an admin.tsx. This is going to be our parent route. So this is a sibling to the slug, because the URL is actually a sibling to the slug as well. It's /post/admin. We have /post/myfirstpost. So they are siblings, but this one's going to be a special one because it is going to be a parent route. And I'll show you what makes it a parent route here in a second. So let me grab this JSX for our admin. We'll export default, a function called admin route. By the way, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's just a React component, so call it whatever you want. And now we've got all of that JSX. So we've got to load up these posts. We got to bring in, this link from Remix Run React. And then we've got a job here to do that we'll get to here in a second. But let's get these posts in here. The posts for the admin route it's basically the same loader as we have in the post listing route, because we just want a list of posts here as well. So I'm going to borrow all of this and stick it right there. Now, somebody asked me earlier, how do you do code sharing between like different loaders and things like that? Like how big do your loaders typically get? And I would say, like, for the most part, my loaders don't typically get very large, but I'm of the, I should say, it's just JavaScript. So you do it however you want to do it. It's like once you're inside this loader, there's no like special hooks or anything like that that makes a loader a loader. It's just JavaScript. So if you want to share code and whatever, if this is not terse enough for you, then yeah, you can make a function and call into that function if you want to. For me, this is plenty. Also, I preferred function declarations, so we're going to switch that. So we've got our loader, we've got our list items. Now let's get our posts from use loader data, type of loader. And now TypeScript is telling me we're all good. So if I come over here, now we've got all of our loaders. Now, if we click on one of these, we're going to get a 404 because this is taking us to /post/admin/slug. And we don't have a route that matches that, so we're going to get a 404 for that. So let's see, what's the direction I want to take this? I think, yeah, we'll create the route first, and then we'll talk about why that route is not working. If I get to a point where I'm like, shoot, why is it not working? Remind me, because I didn't do this part. And I've done this before, and it took me like 2 minutes to figure out why I was messed up. So we want to have, where we're linking to is /post/admin/slug. So we need a subroute. We need a child route of admin. So we're going to make a directory called admin, and under that is going to go our $slug tsx file here. Except I just remembered, we're going to get to the $slug later. Right now what we're focused on is the index route and the new route for creating new posts. We'll get to edit and update, or edit and delete in a future exercise of the workshop. So here we'll make an index.tsx. So this is what should be displayed at this route when we're just at /post/admin. And so for this one, it's actually pretty simple. It's just a link to create a new post. So we'll make a remix component and return that. Let's call this our admin index route. And we'll bring in the link. And then we'll thank our lucky stars for prettier. Oh my goodness. Do you remember what it was like to code before prettier? What a joke. I can't believe we did that. Yeah. Man, thank you, James. Okay, great. So we've got our index route. Let's also make the new.tsx route here as well. And we'll borrow the JSX. Oh yeah, that's right. We'll get to the contents of this route here in a second, but it's for now just going to be new post and new post route. Okay, great. So we've got all of our route files working. There's one last piece here, though, that needs to be done. So if I go create new post, nothing happened there. When I'm on admin, I'm not seeing that that thing that links me to create a new post. So what's going on? What's going on is admin, this admin TSX module is a parent route. It's a layout route. It's responsible for laying out its children. And so that is what this bit is. We want to say, hey, I want to have a list of all the posts, and then in my main area, I want to have all of my children. This is where the new form should go. This is where the editing or updating post should go. This is where my link to create a new post should go. And so we're going to use the outlet component from Remix Rend React to say, hey, Remix, if I have any children, this is where they go. And so now we have our create a new post right there. And this is rendering because we don't have any additional segments beyond admin. So this is our index. No children, this is what should render. That's what the index is. No children, render this. And then if we go to create new post, now we're on /new. Now we do have children. Let me find the route that matches that one, and I'll render that in that spot. So that is the idea of nested routing. You have the parent. Parent is responsible for rendering an outlet, and that's where children go if there are children. Error boundaries are intended for catching errors that are unexpected, but if I go to my first posts, that's not an unexpected error. I can actually anticipate that. That's probably pretty likely to happen, and in fact, we have a convention for that on the web, and that is status code 404, not found. We're looking for something, didn't find it. So what we are going to do is just to make sure, yeah, we're in admin slug. If the post is not found, instead of just throwing an error saying, hey, post wasn't found, what we want to do is we want to send a response to say, hey, the post wasn't found, and then render something that says, hey, there's no post by that name. So what we're going to do is we'll say if there's not a post, then we don't want to execute the rest of this code. We do still want to throw so that it doesn't continue and return this JSON. I suppose we could return JSON here that says, you know, post is null or not found or whatever you want to do, and then you branch on that inside of our post admin component and say, hey, if it was said not found, then render this component instead. That seems like a lot of work. I don't want to do that. Instead, what I want to do is I just want to have some mechanism that says, happy path is over here, and it's beautiful, and there's green grass and gardens and flowers, and it's awesome. And then sad path is over here, and they're separate. So, and that's what the error boundary does. We have a catch boundary for this as well. So we're going to throw a new response, and I'll just say not found, with a status of 404. We want that status code. That's important. Browsers behave differently. Search engines behave differently. All of that. It is important that you have proper status codes. For a long time, everything was a 200 for me, and that is not the way it is. Web apps, 404s, they matter. So we're going to send that status. But we're throwing. Remix is the one calling our loader, and so Remix is going to catch this thrown response. It catches anything. It says, what is this thing that was thrown? Was it a response? Oh, it was. Great. Then I'm going to go down this code path. And this code path says, I'm going to look for the closest catch boundary. So we're going to export a function called a catch boundary. This one has a slightly different API. This one, you get a caught. That's what we call it. It's kind of a weird name, and we may change it. But use catch is a hook that you're going to use from Remix Rend React. And this caught thing is going to be the response that we threw. Okay, so we threw a response. We get that response with use catch. And I'm also going to get the params for my error message. So use params. And then I'm going to say if the caught response status is 404, then I'm going to return an error fallback. that says no post found with the slug params.slug. If it's not a status 404, then somebody else somewhere threw a response and I don't recognize it, so I'm not going to deal with it. What I'll do instead is I'll just throw an error that says unhandled response status hot status. And guess where that's going to go? Right there. So I can deal with 404s, but you throw me a 403, I have no idea what to do with that. So I'm going to just send it over here. Cool. So now we come over here. Oh snap, no post found with my posts. My thing. Yep. Ta-da. First post. Cool. And that will client-side render too. So if you have a link that goes to 404, it will go over there. It will not do like a full page refresh or anything. It'll navigate over there and it'll render the catch boundary. And the data response, so the request for the data will be a 404. You will get a 404 for that response, and it will end up in the catch boundary. So cool. Sweet. Yep, there's our 404. It matters, folks. It matters. Okay. And then, of course, we'd apply the same thing to our other route here. And then if you wanted to reuse this, how do you reuse components? You make a component and you use it again. So if you really wanted to reduce duplication and stuff, you could totally make like the master catch boundary that handles all the different status codes if you wanted to do that.